As part of our strategy series on our website, let's answer the question of, does every strategic plan include the same elements? Oftentimes, if we're doing a strategic plan for an overall business, the categories are going to be just the MBA categories of business, and that's going to be things like finance, marketing, operations, and so on. It's going to be relatively straightforward. And that would be in the case where we're doing a strategy for a smaller business and doing their overall strategy. But in many cases, we're working with, say, a functional area. We're working with an HR department, or we're working with an enterprise risk management department, and so on. And we're looking at, they're looking at developing their strategic framework that aligns with the overall strategy. And one of the important things that we need to determine is what are the right buckets of area that we need to focus on to allow you to ensure success, allow you to differentiate yourself from your competition around your strategy. To be able to think about your strategy in in groups or in buckets. And the way that we determine what those elements are is through our bucket exercise. And the buckets exercise allows you to be very purposeful and intentional around what are the different categories, what are the different aspects of your strategy that need to be considered. And in order to do that grouping and figure out what the buckets are, what we do is we go through a very unscientific process. We go through almost a reverse engineering organic process of looking at all of the stuff that you're currently doing within your function today and getting that out and getting that on the board and then looking at all that information and then saying, what are the key groupings that exist? And we want to end up putting those key groupings into the buckets as you can see here. And as a rule of thumb, people will say, Brad, how many buckets should we have? And typically I would say you want to have between 3 and 5 buckets, and absolutely no more than 8 buckets. We've done some work with folks who have a very complex area where they have up to 8 buckets, but as a rule of thumb, we want to be more 3 to 5. And so what we do is we get out of you and your team all of the stuff you're currently working on. So maybe that's you're doing some marketing, you're doing some government engagement, you're doing some advocacy, you're doing some interfacing with a parent company perhaps. There's some policy and procedure that you're responsible for developing and maintaining, and so on. And so we're asking for that and getting that out and writing it all on the whiteboard. And then at the end of that process, what we do is we then say, great, we have all this out here. What do you see as the key groupings? What things sort of fit together? And folks will say, well, training and coaching are related. And as well, they would say perhaps capacity building is also a similar concept. So they would say, great, let's take training, coaching, and capacity building, and let's put all of those into a single bucket. And then looking at other things, they say the governance aspects of our role, the policy and procedure aspects go together. So let's look at putting those into a bucket over here. And so once we've completed all of the groupings for all of the things that were on the board, and we end up with, as I say, 3 to 5 buckets, then we want to label what those buckets are and get a really good, clear description of what goes in those. And now that we have the buckets determined and we have here's the elements of the strategy that determined, that then drives the overall structure of how we conduct the strategic planning. And we're going to want to make sure that we go through the next stages of the strategic planning process for each of the buckets that exist. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Brad Pickering, President and founder of Innovate Advisory. I look forward to working with you.